Oh boy, do we have some gaming news for you! The conversation rests on Microsoft and the ever-changing state of the so-called console wars. There was a Verge article posted describing or detailing supposed rumor and report from sources about Microsoft's new move. I don't think it's been any surprise that Microsoft or Xbox has been kind of falling behind the other consoles in the market ever since the announcement of the Xbox One. The Xbox Series in a lot of ways was a step in the right direction, with great policies such as their backwards compatibility, and I think Game Pass is a good deal on the whole, but Microsoft has time and time again struggled at the utmost to pump out consistently high quality and well-beloved and well-received games. Every now and then they strike a little bit of gold with games like Hi-Fi Rush, or they stumble their way into success with games like Palworld. But we have seen the reputation of a game like Starfield really wane in recent months, and Halo Infinite has always kind of struggled to hold its own, and we saw the decline of Halo 5 when that game was being, well, the forefront of Halo. And just time and time again, Microsoft seemingly keeps struggling to pump out consistently high-quality games on a consistent basis. But their offerings for the next year look rather promising in quite a few ways. And one of the biggest games they announced at their recent event was Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. I'm still a little bit pessimistic about the game myself, but it looks promising in a lot of ways. And on an article by The Verge by Tom Warren, and according to a source, that Xbox will be taking a quote-unquote new multi-platform approach for certain Xbox games. And then a little bit later on, with the company weighing up which titles will remain exclusive and others that will appear on Switch or PS5 in the future. Indiana Jones appears to be part of this new wave of multi-platform games. And they even say later on in the article that Hi-Fi Rush is probably going to imminently come out for multi-platform for Nintendo and PlayStation. Tom Warren even tweeted out, "I can confirm that the Hi-Fi Rush data mine is legit, and these t-shirt texture files are in the game. It looks like Hi-Fi Rush is coming to PS5 and Nintendo Switch." Now, when I look at this as a consumer, it gives me a sense of optimism, because, well, I don't like the concept of exclusivity. I don't like people not having access to a game simply because of what plastic box they decide to buy at whatever period in time. I'm a PC gamer primarily. The only real exclusivity on PC is whether or not a game wants you to load up the Epic launcher or the Steam launcher, right? But I understand why exclusivity exists, and it has always existed as a way to draw an audience to your platform. And when I approach this from Microsoft's perspective, I start to scratch my head and wonder what it is they're thinking, and if they are truly out of touch, as they seemingly have been for quite a while at this point. Because let's think about this logically. And in the Verge article, by the way, they also say that Xbox Era is also reporting that Microsoft is planning to bring Starfield to PS5 following the release of the game's Shattered Space expansion for Xbox and PC, end quote. Let's think about this logically. What is the big draw for Xbox? What is the thing they've been pumping up in recent months? Game Pass. It seems like in a lot of ways, Xbox wants to become more so known for Game Pass than anything else. And they believe it is the future. But how is this the way to sell it? Think about it like this. You are a PlayStation player, but maybe you've been piqued in terms of your curiosity. You want to play Starfield. So Microsoft ports Starfield over to PlayStation. Cool. What do we think the follow-up to that will be? Will it be, hey, Starfield is finally on on PlayStation, but I really want to play it on Game Pass, so I'm going to go buy another console and then get Game Pass to play it there, instead of the console I already own? Or do they think, oh cool, Starfield is finally on PlayStation, let me buy it on PlayStation, oh this game is really cool, I want to go play the Game Pass version, let me go buy Game Pass and an Xbox console, or get a PC. Like, what is the logic here? Do they think wetting the proverbial whistle of players on Nintendo and PlayStation with games that are also available on Game Pass will incentivize them to just go over and get an Xbox to begin with to play those other games? Do they think that is big enough of a draw for them? And I don't know if it is. because I don't think they have been releasing consistently high-quality modern games for Xbox. I will admit, the recent offerings they've announced look promising in a lot of ways. Maybe Hellblade is really good, and maybe Avowed is amazing, and maybe the new Indiana Jones game is a big hit, and maybe down the line, when we're all 70 years old, maybe Elder Scrolls 6 will be a really big smash hit success. A proper successor to Skyrim. That's a lot of ifs. And I think most of Microsoft's quandaries and issues can just be solved by pumping out better games. When you go about a move like this, it feels like you're trying to exit stage left and go the way of Sega and become more of a publisher, or at least in this case, a provider of Xbox Game Pass, instead of being a console forerunner. Now, I'm all for multi-platform games. Don't get that twisted. But I worry that if this does eventually lead Microsoft to take a way harder look in the mirror as to whether or not they want to continue trying in the console market, I worry about what the games industry will look like down the road if it's just Sony and Nintendo. Competition breeds better business practices for the consumer as they have to vie for the consumer's attention. But I think a lot of the policy you've seen out of PlayStation in particular has been, hey, we don't really need to beat out Xbox and Microsoft because we are already beating them on sales figures. We just have to prevent the player base we are gaining and already have from switching over. So all we need to do is make sure that no matter what the big trend of the day is, that we have some version of that. So our consumers don't feel like they're missing out on an entire pillar or something that could be really popular later on. They have VR. They have some kind of a portable device with the PS Portal. I think it's a rip, but if you're only a PlayStation player and you don't have anything else, then I can kind of see why you would be incentivized to have a PS Portal, because it gives you some version of what the competition brings to the table, whether that's the Steam Deck or the Nintendo Switch. PlayStation has some version of Game Pass with PlayStation Plus. Do I think it's as valuable as Game Pass? No. But again, if you're already in the PlayStation ecosystem, then just having some version of what the competition has probably is enough, and it's been showing to be enough with the sales figures of the PlayStation 5. What about Nintendo? Their policy is dog crap more often than not, and their hardware is weak, but they pump out consistently high quality and well-beloved games on a very, very frequent basis. They had a strong 2023, and 2024 seems to be the year they pump out new hardware, and the cycle will begin again. And we'll have to wait and see if Nintendo can make it 2 for 2 and launch a second console after the success that the Switch has been, release a follow-up console that is as successful. But as a consumer, I don't see the reason why I would ever want to get an Xbox outside of backwards compatibility. So unless you already have a bevy of games from older Xboxes that you want to play again and enhanced, that's really the only reason I can ever see or justify going for an Xbox, because they put all their games on PC anyways. And there are cheaper PCs out there. They're still going to be probably more expensive than an Xbox more often than not, but you can save more money on the back end. PC gaming in a lot of ways has this kind of reputation for being overly expensive, when in actuality, a lot of the times it can be rather cheap, with just how many deals and, well, free-to-play games there are. And I think the, funnily enough, best version of Game Pass is on PC with PC Game Pass. And I think Xbox is fine with that. I worry, in terms of the consumer, what a lesser amount of competition, at least of some form, in terms of competition, will mean for the policy direction of Nintendo and Sony going into the future. Because in a lot of ways, Nintendo and Sony target different demographics. It rarely ever feels like they're in competition with one another, at least since the Switch. I don't know, I think there's a lot of question marks leading into the future here. And I think in the perspective of a lot of consumers, they're just going to be happy that they're going to have access to even more games. I hate the console wars. I feel that more often than not, it separates consumer bases to just bicker with one another in defense of my corporation and my plastic box. But at the same time, I want there to be competition in the console sphere, because I want these consoles to offer better and better policy and try and strive to put out better games. Because on the whole, that is better for the consumer in my opinion. More competition is healthy and breeds better practices. But like I said, in an idealistic world, I want every game to be multi-platform. Because I don't see it as an advantage as a consumer that someone else doesn't have access to the game I love simply because of what plastic box they decide to buy. Exclusivity exists and has allowed certain games to grow and thrive because these companies want good games to bolster their catalog, because a lot of the times, with some exceptions, these boxes, these consoles sell at a loss because they try and make money back in the back end with game sales, and they want to create an ecosystem to draw more and more people to their, well, console. Like, I can get that, but I'm never gonna celebrate exclusivity. That's never gonna happen. I want every game to be available on every platform, especially PC. And I made a video relatively recently about why I don't like consoles to begin with. I tolerate them because sometimes they have games that I truly love. Hell, my favorite video game series of all time is on Nintendo, with Xenoblade. If I, for some reason, had the decision or the power to make it so, I would put it on everything. I tolerate having Xenoblade on Nintendo, on the Switch, because I love the game so much. If I had the choice, I'm playing it on PC. When I'm given the choice, I'm playing any game on PC, because I view the platform to be far more pro-consumer on the whole and give me far more options than consoles. I celebrated when Xbox decided to put all of their games going into the future on PC, because it meant I didn't have to get an Xbox to play Halo. But at the same time, competition is healthy. So it's like one of those things where it's an unfortunate reality, but it's a reality nonetheless. I don't see exclusivity on the whole going anytime soon. And while I would love to see Nintendo and Sony games on PC, I don't see that happening anytime soon, at least in terms of pairing the releases up for the console releases. We have seen Sony dip their toe into the PC market every now and then, but it's always after the fact, after they come out on PlayStation first. So I think we need to wait and see in terms of the trends that this could create and what exactly Microsoft is going for here. Because their plan going into the future doesn't make too much sense to me unless they can consistently put out good quality games. Do they just want to be known for Game Pass? Do they not care about the console market as much anymore and they just want to put out Game Pass? Or do they think Game Pass is a big enough of a lure where if they incentivize or at least tantalize players from other consoles with games that are on Game Pass, then maybe they'll swap over to Xbox down the line to just get Game Pass? Do they think that's going to work? I don't think it will, and I don't know if it will. At least in the current state everything is in. Microsoft needs to desperately put out a ton of great games. It's just what they need to do. They've been throwing money at studios to collect all this IP, and at some point, this has to materialize. So yeah, it's cool that if these reports are true, that more people will have access to these games. That's cool. 2 thumbs up from me in that regard. I just hope that this doesn't mean, in terms of the console market, we end up with less competition. Like where Sony was able to just bump up the price of PS Plus without offering really any new value to it. I don't want to see that become a habit, and for policy in that vein to become a habit because they don't feel pressure from anywhere else. And with that, I think I'll call the video there for the day. Thank you all for tuning in. My pleasure for making the video. If you enjoyed it, please leave a like and subscribe, and hit the bell icon to be notified for when I upload and stream in the future. Leave a comment down below with if you think one of the possible strategies for Xbox that I laid out in this video is viable. Or if you have your own little theory, let me know. I'd love to hear your thoughts, hear your opinions. Stay safe, have a great day, go play some video games if you can, and as always, I'll see you all next time. Bye-bye, everybody, until we meet again.